Good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. The government says it will seek to finalize plans and sign a full-fledged pact with Singapore to develop a special economic zone, SEZ, between the countries in September. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli says the final pact will be signed ahead of an annual retreat between the leaders of Singapore and Malaysia later this year.
What about in terms of currency exchange?
We are now waiting for Singapore to come back. But all this, I think, because the structure is in place, we are confident we will be able to complete the negotiation to finalize and sign the agreement in time for the deadline.
The neighbours in January agreed to develop the SEZ in Johor, aiming to attract investment and free up the movement of goods and people. Proposals for the SEZ include a passport-free immigration clearance system, as well as cooperation on renewable energy and simplifying business approvals. Thousands of Malaysians commute every day to Singapore for work and study, causing frequent traffic congestion on the causeway between the countries. The Employees Provident Fund members have withdrawn 7.81 billion ringgit from Account 3, or the flexible account, as of June 24th. This is an increase from the 6.98 billion ringgit taken out as of June 10th.
According to the Finance Ministry, some 3.16 million EPF members under the age of 55 had made such withdrawals from their flexible account. Meanwhile, a total of 5.12 billion ringgit was transferred to Account 1, or the retirement account, with the restructuring of EPF accounts. Effective May 11th, all EPF members under the age of 55 had their accounts restructured from the 2 accounts previously into 3. From May 12th until August 31st, 2024, EPF members have a one-time option to transfer 1/3 of their savings balance from Account 2 to Account 3.
Malaysia recorded losses of 3.4 billion ringgit from 2018 to 2023 due to electricity theft linked to illegal cryptocurrency mining. Deputy Minister of Energy Transition and Water Transformation, Akmal Nasrullah Muhammad Nasir, says such activities are becoming more widespread, posing serious repercussions for Tenaga Nasional Berhad and the public.
Akmal explained that cryptocurrency miners often believe their activities go undetected due to the absence of electricity meters on their premises. However, energy supply companies are still able to identify abnormal energy consumption in specific areas. Akmal was speaking at an event where confiscated items related to electricity theft and non-certified electrical equipment were disposed of. A total of 2,022 items, which were seized during operations targeting Bitcoin mining, valued at 2.2 million ringgit. Akmal assured the electrical goods were disposed sustainably in compliance with the Environmental Quality Act 1974 and the Environmental Quality (Schedule Waste) Regulations 2005.
Meanwhile, the National Service Training Program 3.0, or PLKN 3.0 pilot project, will begin in June and July next year. Defence Minister Datuk Seri Khalid Nordin announced that it will involve 2 out of the 13 military camps stationed nationwide.
Bagi fasa PLKN asas yang melibatkan peserta 17 tahun dan ke atas di kem-kem askar wataniah selama 45 hari, ia dijangka akan dimulakan pada April 2026. Walau bagaimanapun, projek rintis akan bermula pada Jun-Julai 2025 yang akan melibatkan 2 kem wataniah dengan sasaran penyertaan seramai 1,000 peserta.
Khalid said the Defence, Higher Education and Education Ministries have finalised the training module drafts. He said the National Service Programme would first be introduced in schools targeting Form 4 students. Following this, basic national service training would begin for selected students aged 17 and above. He added that the program in public universities would commence during the 2026-2027 academic intake.
The 6 MPs who were stripped of their membership from Bersatu will retain their seats in Parliament. The decision was conveyed yesterday in a letter from Speaker Tan Sri Johari Abdul to the party's chief whip, Datuk Seri Ronald Kiandi.
Keputusan Yang Berhormat Speaker tersebut adalah amat mengecewakan kami kerana dengan jelas bercanggah dengan peruntukan tersurat dan tersirat perkara 49A-3 Perlembagaan Persekutuan.
The former Prime Minister said Bersatu would consult its lawyers and file for legal action to contest Johari's ruling if necessary. He added that the decision had gone against the provisions of the law and beyond his jurisdiction.
We'll go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Demi memenuhi semua impian, kita capai dengan setiap langkah. Teruskan hari demi hari. Kami setia di sisi. Nescafe, hidupkan duniamu.
Bilalah aku dapat keluar daripada pulau ni.
Lara, kehidupan seorang yatim piatu.
Bilalah akan berakhir derita aku.
Kau kena berjaga-jaga, Intan. Tabah menjaga kehormatan diri.
Pada aku, cinta tak pernah wujud dalam dunia.
Takdir menemukan dua jiwa terluka.
Bapa akan cari orang untuk jaga Lis. Baik, rambut panjang.
Janji, Papa.
Kau jaga.
Saya mau Encik menikah dengan Intan.
Apa aku nak jawab dengan keluarga aku?
Nekat untuk keluar dari penderitaan.
Selamat tinggal nerakaku.
The Daun Hijau di Angin Lalu, di Astro Ria dan Astro Girl.
Welcome back. Far-right parties from 12 countries, including France's National Rally and Hungary's Fidesz, have joined forces to form a new bloc in the European Parliament, dubbed Patriots for Europe. This comes after Ursula von der Leyen claimed victory with her centre-right European People's Party last month. Karisma Putra Abdul Rahman from Bait al-Amanah weighs in on what's contributing to the far-right's gains in the EU.
There are 4 points here that I would like to make. And the first of which is economic discontent and anxiety. So the ongoing economic challenges, including the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, have left many Europeans feeling quite marginalized and disenchanted. So this has somewhat created an environment where populist and nationalist narratives can gain traction, as far-right parties tend to often capitalize on these sentiments. Number two, migration and refugee concerns. So the influx of migrants and refugees into Europe in recent years has really fueled this really strong anti-immigrant rhetoric and sentiment, which the far-right parties have exploited, of course. And they often promote narratives that dehumanize and scapegoat these vulnerable groups. Number three is the dissatisfaction with the mainstream parties. So voters' frustration with the perceived failure of traditional political parties to address their concerns in recent years has led them to look for alternatives, to look elsewhere to feel represented. And so this has kind of come in the form of far-right populist movements. And number four, the normalization of extremist views. The gradual normalization of once unthinkable political views in Europe has paved the way for the far right's increasing acceptance and success.
The increasing shift towards the far right also has several implications, largely impacting EU policies and institutions.
Far right's group and their stance on Russia being on their stance on the Russia and Ukraine situation, and them being pro-Russia, and the hostility towards the EU's alliance with Ukraine could pose diplomatic challenges for the bloc, potentially weakening its overall response to the ongoing conflict. And of course, there is an economic angle to this as well. The far right's Euroscepticism and potential undermining of the EU's economic integration could lead to increased economic uncertainty and volatility, and this could potentially impact the euro and the competitiveness of their single market. And I would like to just stretch it out, perhaps briefly, to what that means. What could it mean for us and ASEAN, for Malaysia and ASEAN? And both ASEAN and Malaysia individually are major trading partners with the EU, and any sort of economic instability or policy shifts within the EU could have severe knock-on effects for Malaysia's economy and trade relations.
Now, at least 29 Palestinians have been killed and dozens wounded in an Israeli airstrike on a camp for displaced people outside a school in southern Gaza. Gaza's health ministry says the strike had hit next to the gate of a school in the town of Abbasan al-Kabira, east of Khan Yunis. The Israeli military claimed it had used precise munition to target Hamas's military member who had taken part in the October 7th attack. Witnesses say there had been no prior warning a strike could be imminent in the area, which had been filled with people forced from their homes by the conflict. The attack resulted in widespread destruction and the deaths of women and children. The incident comes a week after the Israeli military ordered civilians to evacuate Abbasan al-Kabira and other areas of eastern Khan Yunis, prompting tens of thousands to flee. In other news, Thailand's Constitutional Court has scheduled July 24th as the next hearing date for a case seeking the dismissal of Prime Minister Sept Thavisin, citing the need for additional evidence. Earlier this month, the court had announced that a verdict would be reached before September. The court is calling for more information, including evidence and from individuals that were previously summoned. The case against Sept was launched following a complaint by 40 military-appointed senators in May, which was subsequently accepted by the Constitutional Court. The case seeks to remove the premier over the cabinet appointment of a lawyer, Pichit Chönban, who served jail time for contempt of court. The complaint alleges that Pichit fell short of moral and ethical standards for ministers, as defined in the Constitution. Pichit has since resigned, and Sept denied any wrongdoing. If Sept is removed from office, a new government must be formed, and his ruling Pheu Thai party would need to put forward a new candidate for premier to be voted on by parliament. In South Korea, a union representing tens of thousands of workers at Samsung Electronics said it would extend a 3-day strike indefinitely in a bid to force management to negotiate. The strike is the biggest labor action in the tech giant's history and steps up pressure against the chip maker for better pay and benefits. The union has more than 30,000 members, more than a fifth of the company's total workforce. More than 5,000 members stopped working on Monday for what was meant to be a 3-day strike. The move follows a 1-day walkout in June, the first such collective action at the company, which went decades without unionization. Samsung said the strike had caused no disruption during the first 3 days, but the indefinite strike raises the risk of production disruptions at the world's largest memory chip maker. Meanwhile, 4 people have been killed as parts of South Korea was battered by record rainfall, typically seen just once every 200 years. The Interior Ministry has warned people to avoid going to underground parking spaces, underpasses, and streams amid the rainy weather.
Train operators have suspended some regular routes covering the southern region, which was hardest hit. 3 areas experienced some of the heaviest hourly downpours on record, according to Weather Department data. In Gyeongsan County, 5 inches of rain fell within 1 hour, more than 10% of the area's average annual precipitation. South Korea is in the middle of its summer monsoon season and is regularly hit by flooding during this period. Last July, more than a dozen people died when an underpass flooded and water swept in too quickly for vehicles inside to escape.
Now that wraps up AWANI Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Saraya Mia. We'll see you again.